Well, Sri Lanka are finally back in action. 11 days since they last featured on the field as a team in this ICC Cricket World Cup. In the same amount of time, Australia have played 3 games but managed to pick up just 2 points more than Sri Lanka have. They've got 4 out of 6. Sri Lanka have managed to pick up 2 points of washouts, and it is a fixture that Australia fancy. It is a fixture that Mike Hussey has great memories of. It is Australia v Sri Lanka today at the Oval. And that's the focus of our attention on ESPNcricinfo Matchday UK 2019. First and foremost, for all our Sri Lankan fans, let's confirm the weather is great. I'm sure you've already looked that up because there's been more access on the weather forecast in the United Kingdom over the last few days from cricket fans in Asia than there ever has been in the history of the UK. Mike Hussey has fond memories of playing Sri Lanka on a night when he was looking for his teammates in Bridgetown in the darkness.
Yeah, amazing game.
Yeah.
That Sri Lankan team was full of absolute stars, but we had Adam Gilchrist on that day, and he played a remarkable innings. And it was bizarre, because we celebrated once, thinking the game was over, and then the umpire said, no, we need to come back out and finish the game, so we celebrated twice. So it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it looks like what Hussey's saying, that that team was full of stars. It played ICC events with a serious amount of pride, and they're just hoping to find some of that pride again. And these 11 days, I don't know how much they would have helped, but cricket would do with a Sri Lankan team that plays with a bit of pride.
Yeah, always. I mean, Sri Lanka has done so well. I mean, they were finalists in 2011 when India beat them. So their record in ICC tournaments is always good. They've had some great players over the years. At the moment, you want them to start playing. It must be terrible for them to just sit around for 10 or 11 days with no cricket. So they must be itching. Unfortunately, they come up against Australia, who had some tough game and will be battle hardened. So they'll have to play really well today.
They'll be fresh. They'll be fresh and keen.
That's one good way of looking at it. Very fresh, a bit too fresh. But they've been critical of how fresh some of the pitches have been that they've had on offer. We'll come to that in a bit. Just have a look at the head-to-head record between these two teams, and it's a record Australia would be proud of. The only time that Sri Lanka did indeed beat them was in the 1996 final. That's the head-to-head in World Cup matches between Australia and Sri Lanka. Let's confirm what's being said by Dimuth Karunaratne and the Sri Lankan camp. They're not very happy, not just about the weather, but about a lot of other things that have been coming their way in this World Cup. Let's hear from the Sri Lankan captain.
Which is, I already said, the people are expecting to, entertainment games, so they want to hold the 100-hour game. So if you take today's game also, it's a flat wicket and, it's a white color. So if you take this oval wicket also, the bit of green, I think those are the things, we were not expecting, every wicket should be a white top. We were asking, fair wicket, even 50-50 wickets. So that's we all want, and all the spectators want.
Okay, so that is Dimuth Karunaratne not pleased with the sort of conditions and the pitches that he's seeing on offer, and we will come to the pitch in just a bit. But Mike Hussey speaks of the superstars that were in that team. Ajit Agarkar points out how that continued in 2011 too. Dilshan featured in all those games. Dilshan, glad that you're finally joining us, and glad that we're going to be talking about Sri Lanka playing on field today and not about weather and frustration. But the words from the Sri Lankan camp, I wonder what you make of it. Karunaratne saying they're not pleased with the facilities, with how the pitches for Sri Lanka have been a lot greener than, say, the pitches for India. All that sort of chat, does it worry you if you're following the Sri Lankan team?
I think we know that we have experienced past also, same thing happened when we were past also. I think now it's as a team should not worry about what happened in the middle. They should concentrate their game. All the things management should take forward to ICC or whatever they want to complain. Should management try to take to the ICC, but players should concentrate their game. They should, whatever wicket is today is they have to play their best cricket. I think as a team should forget about what happened outside. They should concentrate their game and they try to play their best cricket today and win against Aussie.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's not like he's really complaining. Dimuth Karunaratne is almost stating as a matter of fact, that's what we've got, and this is what India have got. Now, Mel Farrell would have been at that press conference, and the chat is that the Sri Lankan team isn't just frustrated, but they're a bit grumpy as well. Mel, tell me the latest from what you've got. As we look at you, I'm delighted in your lovely shades, which signifies that there's not much rain about at the Oval today.
Yeah, what's anyone got to complain about? I'm finally wearing shades. I'm not wearing a jacket. So maybe, look, I can understand how anyone would be a bit in a bad mood after having so much rain and so much rumblings about. It's an interesting one, and for a couple of reasons. It was actually the team manager, Mr. Demel, not the Mel, but Demel, who actually made some other complaints about how many nets they got at training. The fact that they were in a hotel that didn't have a swimming pool, where other teams had hotels with swimming pools, which that's just not them wanting to sort of kick back with the pina colada. That's them wanting with their fast bowlers to actually have some decent sort of recovery. But look, the ICC have responded to those complaints and said that these arrangements have been in place for a long time, and the teams have been consulted with. It sounded like they were being fairly dismissive of those complaints. Whether or not there actually is something genuine, a genuine difference in treatment, I can't say for sure because I haven't seen those. But one thing about this oval pitch and them complaining about green pitches, do you know, I've been covering matches at the oval a lot of matches over the past 4 years, and almost every time people come here and look at it a couple of days beforehand or a day beforehand and go, ooh, green mamba here, and it's nearly always flat. We've had some big scores here so far. It's generally a high-scoring ODI pitch, so maybe there might be something in it, but it would not be a usual thing for that to be the case. But some good news for Sri Lanka anyway. I did just see Lasith Malinga in there, so he's back after having to go home, unfortunately, for a family bereavement. So he's back, and that, of course, is going to be something that will hopefully give the Sri Lankans something to be happy about.
All right, brilliant. If it is green, then who better than Lasith Malinga to exploit it? Mel Farrell, stay with us. I'll come back to you once we've had the toss and team news. We've been following how closely Australia have been investing their resources within the nets for part-time spin bowling, but I'll come back in a bit. Let's go to the social corner quickly and see what Anubhav's got for us. I'm waiting for your rhymes today, if you've got any for me, or are you just going to go old school today?
Ronak, it takes me years to come up with such beautiful lines, but I'll make sure I come up with the next set for the social corner segments in the 2023 World Cup. All right, let's get going. It was back in 2015, on this day, that Donald Trump had launched his campaign to be president of the United States. I'm going to take a leaf out of his book and launch my campaign to be president of the social corner. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, and I promise that I won't disappoint going forward. Up first, we've got Michael Vaughan, who feels extremely confident that after having seen 15 days of the World Cup, it's going to be either Kane Williamson, Virat Kohli, Aaron Finch, or Owen Morgan who goes on to lift the cup.
Safe bet, yeah.
Might be Sarfraz, actually.
Might be Sarfraz. It's nice that's 4 out of 10 teams that play.
He's hedging his bets there, isn't he?
Yeah, well done, Michael Vaughan. Yeah.
And not just any 4, but 4 who were odds-on favourites prior to the start of the World Cup to lift the cup as well. Up next, we've got another very confident Englishman, or South African, I should say, Kevin Peterson, who says, just give England the trophy, please. Kevin, we've all seen in the past how things have turned out whenever English fans have been this confident that it's coming home. I know it's been so far so good, but let's just be a bit more patient and cool our jets.
You just love the bombs, don't you? The English are they're lovely. You know what's going to happen now. It's almost predictable. They've raised the bar so high, the expectations are so high.
I shouldn't speak. Being an Australian, I should maybe handle this.
I'm probing you to speak.
I would probably say something totally inappropriate.
Well, I want you to speak.
If there's anyone who has got to give an opinion on that, is an Australian.
Yeah, has to be an Australian.
I agree with you. It's going to be lovely to watch the 4 when they hit the ground that hard. To watch Graham Swan crying. It's going to be magnificent.
This is better. This is what I want. He's too nice otherwise, Mike Hussey. Carry on. Yeah.
Up next, we've got Jimmy Neesham, who's really forcing me to consider renaming the social corner to the Jimmy Neesham corner. Here's a fan proposing to Jimmy that abandoned cricketing contest should turn into swimming contest such that the fans can actually get to see something. And Jimmy then responds to the fan saying, okay, but no refunds for you guys. We didn't really hear the fan complaining about the abandoned matches after this. And we're going to wrap things up on a very cute note with a very endearing conversation between Aaron Finch and Brad Haddin's son. But I won't spoil the cuteness for you, so we'll roll the clip such that you guys can take a look for yourselves.
Yeah, Zach?
Are you going to win a coin toss?
I don't know. I'd like to. I don't think I won one in the warm-up games either. I had a good run at the start of the Pakistan series and then lost a couple towards the end. So it's been a while since I've won a toss. Good question.
Oh, that's something. Brad Haddin's kid, Brad Haddin, of course, with the Australian think tank now. Have I seen that before? The coach's kids join the captain for a press conference and ask him when you're going to start winning the tosses. I'm sure Brad Haddin's egged them on. Go ask Aaron Finch that.
I liked it. I thought it was very cute. And I thought Aaron Finch was very clever going back at the young kid as well, saying, "Have you got a girlfriend?" And he quickly said, "No, I definitely do not."
It seemed to be bring your kids to press conference day.
Yeah, that sort of day. Thank you very much, Anubhav. My vote is yours for President of the Social Corner.
Thank you so
If that
much.
matters, if that matters at all. Right, continuing our conversation to Australia v Sri Lanka, and there will be a lot of talk about the way this pitch actually plays with the way Dimuth Karunaratne has addressed the press on the eve of the game. Let's find out what the pitch actually looks like on the day of the game. Brendan McCullum is at the Oval, so too is Michael Slater for viewers in the Caribbean. And for viewers on ESPN Cricket, first stay right with us. And the point Mel makes, Ajit, about just sometimes this grass in England being almost an illusion of grass and not necessarily play out the way you'd think. That can happen too at times.
I think most venues, I think they roll it all. I mean, it depends on how much sun it's got. There's sometimes you roll that grass in as well. A lot of the venues. It'll be interesting to see if today we'll find out if Sri Lanka is right about those complaints, because that's been a pitch or a ground where there's been some big scores that have already been scored in this World Cup. Hopefully we get a good pitch. Oval usually is quick outfield as well. We saw India get a big total. Australia, make a real fight of it, chasing it down. Similar with South Africa, Bangladesh, England getting a decent total as well. So far we've seen some good pitches. I can't remember England Oval, doing too much ever.
All right, that's the other thing about the Oval. If you compare the grounds in England, the Oval doesn't strike you as the first ground where it's done a bit in the past in these high-scoring games. So confirmation that Michael Slater says it is looking like a very good pitch, and that grass that perhaps was there seems to have been shaved off on the morning of the game. So Dilshan, let me just come back to you for a quick comment after what we've seen at the pitch report too. It looks like it's a steady, that green has gone off on the morning of the day, and even if Dimuth Karunaratne has said these things, sometimes can it affect the batsman as well? The captain's gone out and said that it's a green pitch. Are you already starting to worry that there's panic being spread? As a batsman, would you completely isolate the comments of the captain?
I think it's normally a batsman. Normally, just before the match, everyone going to the ground and training. Everyone know what the conditions look like before the match. I'm not worried about captain's comments. As any other batsman should not take in serious. That thing is everyone know which kind of wicket is playing next day before the match. We are going to the ground. I think everyone should. Come positive mood and play whatever wicket is they are prepared, ground staff prepared. I think as a batting unit should come and play positive cricket. If you come positive cricket, it doesn't matter if you grass or not, they can win that battle. Doesn't matter if wicket is green or not.
All right, we will continue getting thoughts from Dilshan, Ajit, Mike Hussey as well as Belinda Farrell. The toss coming up on the other side of the break, so stay with us on ESPNcricinfo Match Day UK 2019.
If you weren't a cricketer, what would you be?
I would have been a Formula One race car driver.
One sportsman from another sport you would like to meet?
Kelly Slater, world surfing champion.
The cricketer you grew up idolising?
Dean Jones.
What is the best part of being retired?
Not having to do any cricket warm-ups.
If there was a movie made about you, who would you like to play your part?
I'd like Tom Hardy to play my part.
If you had to eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, probably French fries.
One singer or band you'd like to see live?
Metallica.
One superpower you'd like to have?
One superpower. Ooh. Well, my son loves Spider-Man, so I'd love to have some cool web shooters and stuff like that.
Who's your 3 a.m. friend?
3 a.m. friend? My wife.
What's the most memorable moment of your cricketing career?
Probably playing a Boxing Day Test match on the MCG.
Best cricket ground you've played at?
Ooh, Adelaide Oval.
A cricketing record you wish you had got in your playing days?
I would have liked to have made 500 in a Test match.
If you had to pick an emoji to describe you, what would it be?
It'd just be the happy face. In fact, most males can't signify the difference between the emojis, so We keep it simple.
What is your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure, tipping into the ice cream when everyone else has gone to bed.
Want to do something easier? Put your tipping to the test. Play Cricket Picks, the new predictor game from ESPNcricinfo. Go to ESPNcricinfo.com/cricketpicks.
Welcome back to ESPNcricinfo Matchday UK 2019. Our focus is on Australia v Sri Lanka at the Oval, and it's turned out to be quite the place to bat first. Let's see what the captains decide if they win the toss. It's time to move to the Oval for viewers in the Caribbean. Mel Jones is with both captains. Viewers on ESPNcricinfo, stay right with us as we continue this conversation with Mike Hussey and Ajit Agarkar. Huss, go back to how the Oval's been so far in this tournament. England batted first against South Africa and won. Bangladesh batted first against South Africa and won. India batted first against Australia and won. New Zealand nearly messed up a chase against Bangladesh. Would that give you an indication that as much as it's a chasing
that was
tournament,
the only day-night game though.
that was a day-night
New Zealand game.
So would that give you an indication that batting first and not the trend of the tournament, bowl first?
Well, I guess, and I know teams do look at those sort of statistics. You see what the historical data says. Although you just need to look at the conditions. If they're saying there's a bit of grass on there or there's a bit of moisture, then perhaps they might be tempted to bowl first and make the most of that, whoever wins the toss. So it's difficult to make a judgment from so far away, but certainly check out the conditions. If any doubt, I think maybe get in there and bat first according to those stats.
Australia wouldn't mind batting first. Obviously, they'll look at the conditions. I don't think Sri Lanka would want to bat first. With the way their batting's gone, I think if there is anything in it, they'll want their bowlers to make first use of it because it's only going to start playing better as the day goes on. I mean, we saw the pitch report. It's already a good pitch. Usually stays well for the 100 overs. So I can't imagine Sri Lanka wanting to bat first if they do win the toss.
More than conditions, does it become how much, how secure you are of your batting as a team?
Well, generally speaking, if your strength is your batting, then you're happy to chase because you just think, okay, well, let's defend as well as we can. We know we can chase down anything that they set. But it comes a bit down to conditions. I think if there's some moisture there and you think it's going to be do a little bit, then might as well make use of it. And then, as Ajit says, it generally just gets better and better as it goes along.
I've always wondered how much a captain has to do with this. If it's a batting captain or an opening batting captain, and he just go, let the bowlers have first crack of it. Somewhere else you'd go, no, let's have a bat. All you need is the openers to see out the new ball, and we're good. So how much of it is the captain? Is the captain just influenced by what he wants to do?
No, not at all. No. The captain will do what's best for the team and what they think is the best strategy to win the game. But having an opener as a captain, it makes you a little bit more nervous.
You played a lot under an opener as a captain.
Time's gone by. I think times have changed. I think now there are a couple other guys you look for advice as well. Apart from the huge support staff that you have, I think most captains try and make the best decision that is for their team.
All right. Now we will find out in just a bit what's happened at the Oval, and that we're waiting eagerly, given teams batting first have had a better record at the Oval this tournament. So confirmation that it is Sri Lanka that have won the toss, and not like what we've seen at the Oval, but like what we've seen in the tournament in general. They've decided they're going to have a bowl first. So let's get quick reactions. I'm going to go first to Tilakratna Dilshan. Dilshan, Sri Lanka winning this toss, so something has gone their way after these days of things not going their way. When they decided to have a bowl first, tell me what you make of that decision by Karunaratne.
I think it might be a good decision because of last few days it's rain and most of the time his wicket is covered because of rain. I think yesterday also when you were training a little bit drizzle in the oval ground, might be Dimuth try to use maximum. That's a little bit first 1.5 hours help for the fast bowlers. They are fast bowlers doing really well at the moment. Might be Dimuth try to take maximum out from the fast bowler, then try to get a couple of wickets early and push pressure to the Australian batting lineup.
Yes, I'm just waiting for confirmed playing 11 to see if Nuwan Pradeep fits into that team. and we will have that Sri Lankan playing 11 for you. So let's get straight into it. They have made changes in the two completed games that they had, or the two full games that they had, even to batting position and the order in which their batsmen come out. So that will be something that we'll wait curiously as well to see whether Tirumane opens or not. As far as Australia are concerned, there is just the one change, and we believe it is a forced change. Huss says Nathan Coulter-Nile is a bit stiff, says Aaron Finch, and in comes Jason Behrendorff. So they decided they're going to stick with the same batting composition, and they're without Marcus Stoinis, who's injured. Behrendorff for Coulter-Nile, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually don't mind it, particularly because the top three for Sri Lanka are all left-handers, and
Yes.
he bowls very well to left-handers. He can get that ball to swing away nicely. So I think that's a positive for Australia. Unfortunate for Coulter-Nile. I'm still concerned about that fifth bowler. That option, it's going to have to be shared with Maxwell, Finch, perhaps Steve Smith might bowl a couple of overs. And I think if Sri Lanka are smart, they play Stark and Cummins really well and then really look to attack the other bowlers.
What it also does, I think, Behrendorff's selection is if he does bowl with the new ball, the third seamer then becomes Cummins. Then you've got a lot more sort of strength in your third. I think even we keep talking about the fifth bowler, which is a clear sort of problem for Australia, but even the third and fourth guys, Coulter-Nile and Richardson, haven't looked great, which then puts a lot of pressure on the fifth bowler as well, and on Stark and Cummins, which now with Behrendorff bowling, if he does bowl well with the new ball, that third seamer then becomes Cummins, which is very handy.
Good point you make, and we'll go more deeper into that, because it does look like teams would look to play out Stark and Cummins and fancy themselves against the rest. And if you have another bowler, the new ball, that could make it interesting. But Mel, as you join us again, Mike Hussey making the point that the fifth bowler will continue to be an issue. And what we are hearing is that Australia tried a number of their part-timers in the nets yesterday. Tell me what you've seen and noticed from training, and who's being invested with the responsibility to fill up that quota of 10 overs.
Yeah, we certainly saw, they had an interrupted training session yesterday, so they were mostly confined to the indoor nets. Certainly Aaron Finch and Steve Smith were bowling a lot in the nets that I saw there, Maxwell as well. So you do get the feeling it might be shared around. I mean, Aaron Finch did say, he was asked about his bowling, and he admitted it's not that great and he's just happy if he lands them. So it does cause a real problem to Australia in them sort of forming that team that's kind of melded around the balance of having Stoinis there in the middle. And of course they can't make the decision. They're going to give him as much time as they can to prove his fitness before they would rule him out of the tournament and bring Mitch Marsh in. And just talking then about seeing off Stark and Cummins as well. I think Australia will be hoping that even with those guys in there, they've got enough a short ball attacking that might cause a few nasty memories for Sri Lanka's batsmen, because remember in Australia during the Test series, and when they were out there, they really peppered them with short balls, and a couple of the players ended up spending a night being observed in the hospitals. So that might be Australia's hope, that they can get in there with those fast bowlers, and when they have them in there, make the most of them, but by really utilising those short balls to good effect.
All right, Mel Farrell, thank you very much. We'll continue getting your thoughts as this game goes on. Melinda Farrell joining us from just outside the Oval, confirming that Steve Smith has been bowling extensively in build-up to this game. Aaron Finch would be happy if he just lands it, but the one that he didn't land is the one that he got a wicket off in the last game against Pakistan. Now, I'm curious to see the Sri Lankan team too. Nuwan Pradeep was nursing an injured wrist ahead of this game, but it looks like he's fit enough to make the 11. The only change is Malinda Siriwardana coming in for Suranga Lakmal. That's an interesting change that they've gone for, so let me get Dilshan's thoughts on that. The left-arm spin all-rounder in Siriwardana for Suranga Lakmal. Take me through that decision, Dilshan.
Earlier we discussed we should bat extra batsmen. Siriwardana should come to the side. I think it's a good move. Now we have a 7 batsmen and we are chasing this game. I think it's really good move. Siriwardana is a very good batter. Last few months in domestic he scored a lot of runs. I think it's a good move for Sri Lanka. And other good news, Nuwan Pradeep's fit is bowled really well against Afghanistan team. I think it's really now this side is really balanced. I think really good move, these changes. I'm really happy with changes.
Yeah, Nuwan Pradeep having that man of the match performance last time would give Sri Lanka a little confidence that they can probably go with Malinga Pradeep, Isarudana, Tisara Pereira, and then the fifth bowler can be made up.
Yeah, I think again, like Dilshan said, just gives it balance, and that's what you keep talking about Australia. You know, that spinner, I think there's Siriwardana coming in. don't think the conditions are such that we saw yesterday as well with West Indies. There was a bit of sameness to their attack.
Yeah.
Once you don't get early wickets, you can be in a bit of trouble. So much more balanced team. There's enough batting there as well. Now that they've couple of years back, or 3 years back now, against India, they've chased a big score at the Oval. I know that was before the wrist spinners started playing for India, but they've managed to. So the pitch is going to get better. Australia will have to get some runs on that.
All right, let's take another short break on ESPNcricinfo Matchday UK 2019. On the other side, we will continue build up to Australia v Sri Lanka, with Sri Lanka winning the toss and having a bowl that makes for a curious conversation at the other side of the break.
U is for upsets. The unexplained, mystical, truly pure moments of sport. The World Cup has had plenty of those. Zimbabwe beating Australia in their first one-day international ever, for instance. Or Brian Lara's men bowled out for 93, chasing a modest 166 put up by Kenya. And who can forget that mad day in March 2007, when within a few miles of each other, India lost to Bangladesh and Ireland sent Pakistan packing. Oh, how the scars still remain. Of course, Ireland were 111 for 5, chasing Big Brother England's 328. What happened after that still makes a few tight upper-lipped gentlemen very, very upset when the topic comes up in bar conversations. But our favorite upset? Definitely in terms of the setting, the 1983 final at Lord's, when Capital Dev's Indians defended a measly 183 against a
Good to have you back on ESPNcricinfo Matchday UK 2019. We continue our extensive build-up to Australia v Sri Lanka at the Oval. Big toss for Sri Lanka to have won after 11 days sitting out, frustrated by the rain in Bristol. 2 points, well, gained, you would think now, against Pakistan and Bangladesh. That's the way they need to look at it. And we continue to build up to that game here on show. With Mike Hussey, Ajit Agarkar and Dilshan, we will continue this discussion on Australia v Sri Lanka, and that is the focus of our attention after Dimuth Karunaratne has won the toss and decided that Sri Lanka will have a bowl first. And now let's just talk about the composition of both teams, who takes the new ball for Sri Lanka, and the look of Australia's batting, which has gone very batting heavy now. You'd think this inclusion of Marsh and Khawaja, it looks formidable because everyone's been on the runs us, but sometimes do you struggle to find the right role? Everyone would like to probably bat 3 or 4 in this top 5.
Well, you make a good point because Khawaja's had a lot of success batting at the top of the order.
Yeah.
Sean Marsh has had a lot of success batting at number 3 or maybe number 4, but they're both really batting out of position.
Yes.
So it's not ideal from an Australian perspective. I don't think the plan changes though. I think it's about getting off to a positive start with Finch and Warner, then probably being flexible. Steve Smith probably at 3, and then just trying to be as flexible as possible.
Yeah, but that's exactly what happened last game. When they get off to a good start in 30 overs, then you're tempted to send Steve Smith at 3, in which case Khawaja and Marsh are then playing roles at 4, 5. And are they versatile enough? Is that something they need to perhaps bring into their game, the versatility to bat just 15, 20 overs at the end?
They do have the versatility to do it. They've got experience under their belt. But they need to adapt pretty quickly.
Yeah.
They've got to. I know they've been set with their roles in the past, but because due to circumstance, they've had to change their role in the team. They're going to have to, be versatile with that very quickly. I think the advantage for Australia is they're coming off 2 really tough games, one against India, one against Pakistan. So they'll be match hardened. Also, one of those games was at the Oval, so you'd expect that they'd adapt to those conditions at the Oval pretty quickly.
I look at it a bit differently. I think, in my opinion, they should have Khawaja or Marsh batting at number 3.
Right.
Because Steve Smith is good enough to bat at number 4. You don't want Khawaja and Marsh, as good as they are, both batting at 4 and 5. We saw them getting a little bit stuck. Even Khawaja, when he came to bat against India, took a bit of time and then sort of started going after the spin. Might be a bit more, might be easier for Australia because Steve Smith can actually bat anywhere. You don't necessarily need Steve Smith at 3. Depending on the situation. But I'd
it's
rather
like
want
that
one
old
of them.
adage of who's your best batsman and try and give him the most amount of overs.
There's still 50 overs. I think 20 overs perhaps applies a little bit more.
Yeah.
I actually agree with Ajit a little bit there too, because I just like the idea of Smith, say, coming in at 4. Maybe not so much for this match, but say when there's good spinners in the opposition, he plays spin so well, just to hold the middle of that innings together. It'll help, say, someone like Khawaja to bat at 3. He's probably more suited to playing there, or a Sean Marsh if you want to go down that path. And then it just looks a little bit more balanced, rather than just throwing all your eggs in the one basket of having the best 3 players at the top.
All right, let's continue this conversation after hearing from one of Australia's top order batters, and he's been in form. He's got a World Cup 100. It meant a lot to him, and let's hear what he makes of this game. David Warner speaking to the press. And the viewers on ESPNcricinfo, stay right with us. We continue this chat. I like that you say that Steve Smith is perhaps versatile or the best batsman to play, but Sean Marsh is a prolific 2020 run getter as well. Is it just about getting used to this format and not being able to change? We saw Sean Marsh trying to play that hitter's role in the game against Pakistan, just wasn't coming off.
It doesn't come natural to him. He's actually had a lot of success for Australia in 50 over cricket as well in the last year or so. I think he scored 400s on a tour to England. But that was more at the top of the order, either opening
you
or
would
number
have.
3.
You opened for the entire life, and then Australia came about and said you need to bat 5-6.
He was better.
Yeah.
No, but you do have to be versatile. Now, Sean Marsh has incredible power, but he's someone that likes to come in, take his time early, and then he can really sort of accelerate from there. In the middle overs, it's a bit different. You need to come in and be really busy. You can't afford to chew up too many deliveries. So that's something that he's going to have to adapt to very quickly if they see him playing this role for the rest of the tournament.
It does seem like the makeup of Australia's squad is Marcus Stoinis almost becomes this huge player. He may not necessarily with impact, but just the role that he plays, the minute you take that away, and the balance just seems to be upset. Is that a fair call?
I think they might be good enough not playing Marsh. At the moment, I think they're not quite sure whether there's enough batting there, but in my opinion, there is. I think they can play that extra bowler. Coulter-Nile, okay, he's not well today, but he still bats. So does Stark, so does Cummins. Those guys can contribute with the bat. So if your top 5 or 6 are not going to do the job for you, I think the 7th guy is, there's only been a few occasions where that 7th is needed. Your top 4 or 5 need to get the job done most often than not. At some stage, they'll have that confidence of playing that 5th bowler, and then that team will start looking a lot balanced. At the moment, because of the similar type of games that Khawaja and Marsh have, it feels that way. Not that there are any bad players. They've got some great records in one-day cricket. Hopefully, they can adapt quickly with those numbers.
That is the challenge for Australia's batsmen, including David Warner and Finch at the top. And David Warner, who looks good, looks optimistic about the way his World Cup's already started. Now, given the heavy Australian top order batting that there is, Dilshan, let me come to you on how Sri Lanka would like to use their bowlers. There's no Lakmal now, so how do you use Malinga? Are you going to give him overs with a new ball at all? Are you going to use him sporadically in spells in the middle? Give me the best use of Sri Lanka's bowlers if you were captain and looking at the makeup of this team.
I think it's definitely Malinga should take the new ball. Thing is, so many times we saw Warner struggle with Malinga. He got out 4 or 5 times against Malinga. I think Malinga should take the new ball, and Nuwan Pradeep, when we bowl very well again, after ball is a little bit get old, I think might be, if I'm captain, might be I'm using other end Isuru Udana. Thing is, Australian top order didn't see that much with the Isuru Udana's new ball. I think Isuru and Lasith should take the new ball, and Nuwan Pradeep should come after little bit get old, he bowl well with the old balls.
I mean, the nature of Sri Lanka's 2 games have been such that they've never really had to spread their bowlers out and see who's got the roles at the death. I know Malinga will bowl at the death, but who else takes the responsibility of bowling at the death? Is there Isuru Udana, who's your second death bowler, Dilshan?
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, Isuru, he have a lot of variation. I think Isuru and Lasith should bowl death overs, and middle overs can use, Tisara can use middle overs and with Nuwan Pradeep. And Malinga should bowl a couple of first 4-5 overs, maximum 4 overs first spell, and he come 3-3 later on. Definitely death over Malinga and Isuru should bowl.
That's back-to-back games for Australia now, where as much as we talk about the role of wrist spin and how it's changed the world of ODI cricket, nobody seems to want to pick their wrist spinners. Even Sri Lanka have gone without the option of they have some part-time spin, but no wrist spin. It's suddenly just going out of fashion.
I'm not sure it's going to go out of fashion. Maybe in these 2 particular teams that they're not really utilising the wrist spinners as much, but I still think the wrist spinners play a huge role throughout this tournament, and we'll see that more and more, I think, as the tournament wears on.
I mean, we just look at numbers of Australia's top order against wrist spin, And if you do have a potent wrist spinner, it's something that you should use, because you have Aaron Finch dismissed 9 times, David Warner 5 times. You'd still be okay to be dismissed 9 and 5 times if you average over 40. But Usman Khawaja and Steve Smith also have been dismissed a number of times against wrist spins, against leg spin specifically. Now they have Jeffrey Van der Sar as a leg spinning option, but does it sometimes go down to who your leg spinner is and not just the fact that you have a leg
you
spinner?
said it. I mean, if you have a potent leg spinner, maybe they don't have that confidence in him to play him as a frontline bowler. Australia don't have the confidence in Zampa, who's been their number 1 spinner for a while now. And because of his form in the first couple of games, they've just decided to abandon that theory at this point, at least play that extra batter and trust their batters to get enough runs, whether batting first or then chasing. So strange, because at the moment leg spinners around the world, or wrist spinners, have had a big say.
Yeah, that's the most dismissals against leg spinners, and Australia sit pretty on top. So I don't know how much teams look at this, but it's a two-sided conversation. It's not only that you have to play leg spinner, it's like Ajit says, who your leg spinner is and whether you have the confidence in him. Now remember, this Cricket World Cup, why just watch the match when you can play it too? Check out Hotstar Watch and Play, a super cool innovation that lets you invite your friends, predict every ball, chat about the match all in one place. And if winning the prediction isn't enough, you get to win amazing prizes too. So just get onto Hotstar Watch and Play right away. That's not the only thing we've got for you through the course of this World Cup. It's time to predict as well, and we've made predicting very easy for you. You need to just get onto ESPNcricinfo and get onto Cricket Picks. Here's more.
Put your tipping to the test. Play Cricket Picks, the new predictor game from ESPNcricinfo. Make predictions and track your progress throughout the tournament. The easiest thing you'll do all day. Go to ESPNcricinfo.com/cricketpicks and play today.
Okay, now, why do I not see anyone backing Sri Lanka today? That's because I don't see Dilshan featuring on that list. So it's got Agarkar, Karthik, Hodge, Haseen, Hafiz, Ganga, Swan, Mokel and Vittori saying Australia. I'd love for everyone to be wrong today. So let me ask Dilshan. Dilshan, are you backing Sri Lanka? Is this frustration, this rest that they've had, and the fact that they want to prove a point or two against an Australian team that hasn't been playing their top level cricket, are you backing them to win today?
Yeah, definitely. I'm backing with my team. If we bowl well, definitely after winning the toss, they might be used this condition maximum. If bowlers can do a damage first half, I think Sri Lankan can beat Australia. I am with my team.
All right, you always are. Dilshan supporters with Sri Lanka. Let's have a look at the numbers that the Oval throws out. And we've already seen 4 or 5 games this World Cup. The average first innings score at the venue being 290. So 300 and 300 about gets the job done, because teams batting first have won 3 out of 5. Remember, there has been a day-night game, like Ajit pointed out, between New Zealand and Bangladesh, where New Zealand chased, albeit in a tense chase. And the pace bowlers averaged 31, which is actually brilliant if you look at some of the numbers that the grounds in England have thrown about. And the spinners averaged 43.5. Now, an average first innings score of 290, chasing over 300 has been a challenge, Dilshan, as we've seen in the games with England, South Africa, India, Australia, even Bangladesh, South Africa. Give me a number that Sri Lanka would be happy to restrict this strong Australian lineup to.
I think we can keep it under 275, gettable, chaseable 275.
Yeah, 275. So Sri Lankan batting unit that's still hoping for some form in the middle order. But
I think particularly the middle order. If Sri Lanka can cause an upset today, don't worry about that. Yeah. If they can find some confidence in that middle order, particularly someone like an Angelo Matthews who has so much experience, then I think they can stun Australia here. Australia go in favourites. They're match hardened,
yes,
ready for this match, but Sri Lanka, they can do that if they play at their top game.
Key is that they don't get outbatted. You just feel that they shouldn't get outbatted in the first 50.
Yeah, but it's a potential banana skin for Australia. Yeah. You expect them to win. They're playing better cricket at this point. Sri Lanka haven't had any cricket. But they want to play well. I think they want to get that. We haven't seen the conditions yet. It might be even flatter than what everyone's saying, or it might seem around. So if there are good conditions, they would want to get about 310, 320 at least. To put that pressure, extra pressure on Sri Lankan batting. But Sri Lanka have got some good players. We haven't seen enough of them yet. If they play well, this Australia will have to play really well, at their best to beat Sri Lanka.
Yeah, just suddenly, all of a sudden, I'm just feeling this might be a more interesting game than you might have thought. But Mike Hussey's put that thought in me. But thank you to Mike Hussey and Ajit Agarkar. Thank you to Tilakratne Dilshan as well. Get thoughts from the entire panel at half-time. Let's hope Sri Lanka put in a really good shift. They're raring to go. They've been frustrated in the dressing rooms. You should expect a fresh Sri Lankan team on what looks like a fresh sort of wicket at the Oval to give Australia's top order a challenge, where they have been challenged in the past before. Thanks for joining joining us, and see you at halftime on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday UK 2019.